We hear a lot of discussion about what it means to be a woman in today's society. And it's important to recognize that the experiences of women is not the same across the globe, across cultures, or even within local communities. In some communities, women are struggling to have a voice to champion their cause. And in other communities, women are achieving higher levels of education, they're going out to work while raising children, and they're making important financial contributions to their families. Regardless of the community though, when it comes to career and education, there are certain industries that are considered to be a man's domain. So for girls who aspire to get into these type of industries, there are often only a few handful of women they can look to for mentorship. Katia N is the Director of Construction and Engineering at Sobeys. As an engineer, she has worked in the mining and construction industry. She holds a bachelor's degree in engineering, and she earned her MBA while working full-time and being a wife and mother. So I'd actually like us to start at the beginning with your childhood. What were you like as a child?
As a child, I was pretty much a tomboy. If I could get myself into dirt, I was happy. My worst memories was my mom trying to brush my hair.
Oh my goodness.
Have you seen my hair?
Yeah, it's very curly. Yeah.
So trying to brush it and putting me in a dress with nylons, remember those thick nylons?
Yeah.
I had scabs on my knees as a regular thing. It was always there because I was always running around, playing in the dirt, falling, getting hurt, getting scabbed up. That was pretty much me up until the age of 9. When we moved from Anjou to RDP, all the friends on the street that we used to go out and play with were mostly boys. And we were living in an area that was still being developed, so there was a lot of forest and new dirt and new trees to go and explore. So we were always playing and getting ourselves into trouble in houses in construction that we would go in and look at. Of course, that goes against every single security regulation in the province and the country, and not recommended for anybody today. But at the time, it was fun and it was adventurous. So that was kind of me growing up, always trying to just be out and be one of the boys.
How would you describe your personality?
I think it's kind of hard to always to do that self-evaluation of oneself, but I would say that I'm someone that's very curious. Very curious. I'd like to think I'm outgoing. I tend to use humor to kind of reduce tension, or just life's too short to always be serious. There are times to be serious, and you need to be, but we can always have fun doing it. I'm someone that's also very disciplined. So if I put my mind to something,
you get it done.
It'll get done. It's just a question of when, it's not if.
Why did you choose engineering?
There was an open house at the CEGEP, and I started talking with the people in mining, and I realized that I liked it. I liked what they were talking about, and I liked that it was hands-on. Of all the engineering fields, I think mining was the one that was more, you roll up your sleeve, you get dirty. It was back to getting dirty and playing in the dirt, right? And they gave me a scholarship. Of course, I always used the joke that I went into mining engineering to upset my parents because, coming from immigrant family, they thought I was going to have a more female-oriented career. So at first, they didn't understand my choice at all. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and complete respect for her. She raised 3 kids while my dad was having 2 jobs and working all the time. Wow. So it wasn't coming from the same background, or she couldn't relate really to all of that.
And then the generational gap too, I guess.
Absolutely. For my mom, her goal was, and no criticism or judgment, I respect very much for her decisions in life, and I tip off my hat to her for doing everything she did for us. But her goal in life was to have children, to get married and have kids and to raise them. So she raised 3 kids by her, I don't want to say by herself. My dad was there, but he worked a lot.
What do you think was the defining moment in your life that got you to where you are now?
I don't think it's one moment. I think it's a series of moments. I think that, like anything else in life, certain things cause a domino effect. So like I mentioned, I went into mining engineering. I had 4 work terms, and I loved it. I really did enjoy it. I graduated from mining, and I moved to New Brunswick. I got a job for Noranda in an underground mine. And between open pit and underground, I loved underground.
Okay, so you were like deep underground.
Yeah, that was one of the deeper ones at the time. It was over 1 kilometer deep. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, the nitty-gritty of it, the challenge of it, and everything that had to do with it.
For your career, after doing all of this, what has been the highlight?
I think the highlights, they're baby steps. It's one thing at a time. I haven't peaked yet.
Okay.
I haven't got to where I think I could eventually get. I think that I have more to give.
Okay.
So my highlights, of course, is what I'm doing today.
All right.
I'm in a position where I can make the decisions. Not saying that I didn't have that position earlier on in my career, but as a project manager, my decisions were based on the projects I was managing.
Okay.
As a director, my decision affect the department. So I think that as you get to higher positions, your decisions have a greater effect or control over what you're overlooking. I haven't reached where I could say, okay, this is where I'm going to stay until I retire.
Okay.
My master plan is still out there, and the steps are still going. So, it's, one day I'm going to say, oh, I've reached my plan. I'm good. I'm ready to retire. Or, semi-retire and do something else.
Do something else. What challenges have you faced in your work that a man would not have had to face?
Sexism, being condescended upon. I could go on and on. It's less and less, but there's still those. When I was working for the general contractor, the owner of the company was just a few years older than me, maybe like 7-8 years older than me. And people automatically assumed that I was his daughter. Or his younger sister, because they couldn't fathom that a woman would be working in construction unless she had some kind of, family relation that forced her to. In mining, most people were okay. I do remember once, the thing about walking underground is that it's very dark. It's pitch black, and you have a lamp on your head.
Okay, so that's the only source of light.
Yeah, well, in some tunnels there's lighting, but in other areas it's really the light on your helmet. So when you see someone walking towards you, what you really see is the light shining. And you don't really see the profile of the person because you're all wearing the exact same thing and your hair is tied and whatnot. And one of the funniest things that happened once, as I'm walking, I see someone and he's smoking. And as I get closer, he sees that I'm a woman and his cigarette falls out of his mouth and he goes, "You're the first woman I've ever seen underground." I didn't have an answer to that. And I have an answer for everything. I really didn't have an answer for that. But I mean, I didn't take it bad for him. It was the first time he saw it, but he wasn't being condescending.
Okay, no, for him, it was just a shock.
It's just, for him, it was a shock and it was a statement, But I would say that in general, more and more people are gender neutral, but there are the few that are harder to get through. And those, we always say the negative outweighs the positive, right?
Okay.
So when people are talking to you and, in Quebec, the expression "ma petite madame,"
yes.
that comes up a lot. And it's become like
so actually maybe explain to our audience that, because not everybody will be French for the audience.
It's like little lady, my little lady, and it's something that's very condescending. So when you're called that, and it's actually an inside joke now at the office, never to call me that, because the answer will be no, or it'll be yes if you want it to be no. I think that being a woman, you tend to be more sensitive on certain things than men aren't. In terms, I manage a team of 14 people. So I tend to read them maybe better than a man would read them. I tend to sense things a little bit better, so I'll take that as an advantage. My disadvantage is that I take things very personally, but I also consider that a strength. If I'm taking it personally, I'm being passionate about what I'm doing. True, yeah. I think that it makes me who I am. It's hard to see it differently than all of this really, molding the person that I am today. If it was too easy, I wouldn't be the person that I am, right?
And that's true. Yeah.
And I wouldn't be making the decisions with the person and the knowledge that I am.
And what about your career? What is the best advice you've received for your career?
One of the VPs I had at Ultramar, he really believed in me. And one of the times, he kind of took me under his wing and he said to me, he goes, "Always have a project in life." And he had told me this when I told him I was going for my MBA, and I said, "Well, it's 2 years and then it'll be over with." He goes, "Always have a project in life."
Wow.
He goes, "You need to know where you want to go and what do you have to do to get there." And I think that is the best way. You can't just keep doing the same thing every day and expect one day to wake up and have a certain position that you didn't work towards.
That's true.
So you have to, I think that's Einstein's definition of insanity, right? Is expect a different...
doing the same thing, I expect a different result.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you want to get to somewhere, you have to plan for it, and you have to see how you're going to get to it. And that stuck with me. Always have a project. And he said, even if it's a personal or professional, always have a project. He goes, otherwise you'll just be bored.
So what advice then would you have for young girls who want to get to where you are at?
Be true to yourself. I mean, you are who you are. No one's going to tell you who you are. If you are someone who's shy, be shy. If you're someone who's a loudmouth and likes to be extravagant, then be that person. If someone tells you you can't be an astronaut, be an astronaut. So, I mean, be true to yourself. And if that's what you want to do, just find a way to get it done. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing no one who's going to tell you you can't do it. And if they are, prove them wrong. For me, an obstacle is just another way to prove myself. So it's not going to stop me. It's just a way of saying, okay, I got another step, but I'm going to get there.
Would you do this over again?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. You know, everyone always says, if I knew then what I knew now, would there be things that I would do differently? Probably. You know, knowledge is power. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It's really been... I'm not at the destination of where I want to be yet. I think I keep repeating that because the sky's the limit for anybody, whether it be me or anybody else. And the only limitations we have are the ones that we listen to or the ones that we put ourselves. So I think that, to me, this has just been an adventure that's ongoing. And the day that I'm bored, it'll probably be time to retire.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you, Mercy.
Yeah. And so I just hope for all those watching that they'll be really inspired by your story, because I'm inspired.
Well, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.